All right. So ARIA keywords converting. This is the next piece of information I think is really important. It comes up to virtually every day. I get a question about this, and when I get more than two questions a week on the same topic, I know I have to dig deeper into it.
Hey, it's Mike here, and we just launched version 7 of our Amazon training course, where we walk you through the process of how we sold just in the last 30 days, our first 30 days, over 1,000 products with the brand new ranking strategies that we're now showing to the public. We've trained over 1,000 students, and last year alone we did over $3.2 million online. And if you go to my site, put your credit card away, enter just your first name and your email address, I'll immediately send you a series of free training videos that walk you through the process.
All right, so what's the primary metric? And now you've heard me say this a million times, but not everyone's listening, so I'm going to say it again, 1,000,001. The primary metric used is the click-through rate on pay-per-click. You have to do pay-per-click to determine what keywords are generating the most productive keywords that are generating you the most profitable results. And someone's going to say, well, okay, I have keyword X, which I've bid 75 cents on and has 1,000 impressions. I have keyword Y, which I bid $10 on, has 500,000 impressions. How can you compare? Well, it's a percentage equalizes everything. It's basically click-through rate is the percentage of clicks based on impressions. So whether you have 1,000 impressions or 100,000 impressions, the percentages are the percentages. And they're directionally accurate. Are they perfect? No, but they're directionally accurate. You know, one of the things you should be looking at on your pay-per-click campaigns, everyone focuses on ACoS. What's ACoS? What's this? You know, I'm not making money. Everyone's costing me money. And I always say, well, you know how I feel about ACoS. ACoS is a good number, but there are times where I don't mind spending more money to get ranked. It's not about did you make money on every sale for pay-per-click. That's not what pay-per-click is for. You're not using pay-per-click to generate sales. You're using pay-per-click to get ranking. Sure, sales come up. You have to get sales to get ranking, but you're not. Pay-per-click is technically not going to be a profit center for you. It's a means to an end. So people that just focus on making money on pay-per-click, I say, well, then if you have enough organic sales, you don't need pay-per-click. So for me, pay-per-click is about getting data and getting ranking. So in this case, the data you want to get is your click-through rate, and it's your percent of clicks based on the number of times it appears or your number of impressions. Okay. And again, a higher bid or a bigger budget does not drive your click-through rate. We already talked about your listing. If your listing is properly, you get the 4 pillars, you're going to get a higher click-through rate, but everything's equalized because you might have a keyword that has a 1% click-through rate and a keyword that has a 0.1% click-through rate. You have the same 4 pillars, they're all equalized, but it's what keyword and what the characteristics of the people that type that keyword in, whether or not that keyword is actually a producing keyword or it's the research keyword. So the question is, why does a keyword have a higher click-through rate than another keyword? Again, everything else is equal. So the reality is there are certain keywords people use just to research. They'll type in, let's just use garden hose. They'll type in garden hose to see what appears, okay? And they're doing research as they're poking around. But maybe they're typing in hose. I'm just making stuff up, guys. They're typing in hose, and then that keyword typically will end up in a sale. So that becomes a better, more productive keyword. But every product's different, but you have the answers because you have the data at your disposal. So let's see what this is all about. Okay, so let's go into an example that I have. All right, so I did this for you. It's one of my products. Remember, you all know some of my products. Most of you was an iPhone splitter back in the day. Okay, so this particular product, I spent $2,500 on this particular ad. Okay, I did a ton of ads for this product, but this is just a good example. So if you look at this, the first thing people do is look at ACOS. Let's sort by ACOS. How did oh, this is a great ACOS. Yeah, I had one order, whatever. So the first thing I do is I click my click-through rate. I want to know what my click-through rate's been, and I want to sort that highest to lowest. I know my average is 0.46%. Remember, let's do this because I want to make sure everybody knows this. Hold on. Amazon's average click-through rate is 0.36%. That's the average for Amazon, right? Which means there's a lot lower, a lot higher, but don't get that confused with conversion rate, which is about approximately 10%. Okay, so 0.36% is the average. So you should always know what your average is for that campaign. My average for that campaign is 0.46%. So then you're going to start looking. Then I start looking at, okay, what, how many clicks, and I'll look basically at impressions. Even though they're a high click-through rate, or even look at the number of impressions. Terrible, this is a great click-through rate, 3 clicks. My ACOS is great. Now I know you don't hate ACOS, but these will typically fall in line. If you have a high click-through rate, you're gonna have a low ACOS rate because it's just gonna mean that you're getting more people clicking and buying. So that's a good thing. So I'll look at where my average is, some of my highs and lows. Then I'll click on impressions, okay, high to low, and I'll say, okay, this particular iPhone 7 splitter had a 0.39% click-through rate with 69,000 impressions. iPhone splitter itself had a 0.63% click-through rate with 50,000 impressions, 0.47 for iPhone adapter. So what I do now, let's just look at these top 3. I'm looking at this saying, okay, now that I've tipped you guys, what do you think the keyword I'm going to focus the most on is? I mean, obviously iPhone splitter, right? Because it's like 1.5 times higher than this one, than iPhone 7 splitter, because it's about the same amount of, similar, it's pretty high number of impressions. And what this means is people that type in iPhone splitter aren't always the ones buying, because remember, my listing is the same exact listing for both of these. It's just this one is converting better. It has nothing to do, I had the same amount of impressions, has nothing to do with my bid. So what I would do in this case is, as I have time, I would say, okay, listen, maybe I'm spending most of my money on iPhone 7 splitter. I would then lower my bid, my keyword bid on iPhone 7 splitter, so that I got more impressions on iPhone splitter instead of iPhone 7 splitter. So that's a way that you can, make sure your other keyword gets more impressions, because you want to get more impressions. You want to, or even, I would never pause, anything that has a 0.39% click-through rate, but I would lower my bid, so this particular bid got more impressions, or I'd even maybe higher my bid on this particular item, because I know more people click on it, right, on a percentage basis. So for me, people are like, well, what's my, how do I determine which keywords to focus on? Well, here's how you determine it. Almost 1.5 times the click-through rate. That means this is a high-performing keyword. Even this 0.7, you order in priority. Now, what about aux adapter? Well, I mean, not as high as that. So you start to rank these, right, based on, a higher number of impressions. So if you sort by click-through rate, you're going to get some oddities because of when you have low impressions. But anything over 10,000 is a pretty good average sample size, right? So you're going to then focus on these. And if you had to spend money, I see people that run out of budget, and you got to be really careful. Running out of budget is not a good thing. A lot of people will only run their campaigns for 3 or 4 hours a day because that's all the money they have. Well, I want to tell you what I would do, or what I do is, if I can't afford to run for the whole day, I'm scaling way back. And I'll focus on the ones that convert the most. Now you may say, well, Sam, iPhone Splitter may get 10,000 searches a month, but iPhone 7 Splitter may get 30,000 searches a month. I don't care. Like, I care, but I don't care, because for me, I'm getting more conversions ultimately from this keyword. So this is the equalizer between looking at a straight how many searches per month you get and how many searches per month you get and what actually converts, right? They're two different things. You don't know the other part of the equation until you run pay-per-click ads. So it's really more than just a science. There is an art to it. So you start with what we teach and figuring out based on the keywords that we know are important that you want to get your listing to, and then you evolve to ranking and creating. You want to rank for keywords that generate money for you, because truthfully, if iPhone 7 Splitter has 60,000 searches a month, but my conversion rate or my click-through rate is low, I don't care if I rank for that, because that's not making me money. You want to rank for what's making you money. And I've seen people get, you just can't get wrapped around the axle with one number. There are multiple numbers. But this, to me, click-through rate based on your pay-per-click campaigns is absolutely tells the rest of the story, okay? I know for a fact iPhone 7 Splitter has higher search volume than iPhone Splitter, or did at the time, but iPhone Splitter converted for me better, and so I would focus more on that, and you'd make adjustments to make that happen. But for me, if you were to say of all these, and all I had is a limited amount of money, I'd pick the top 3 click-through rates, and I would just go to town on those and make sure I ranked on those. Does that make sense? Is that helpful? Is that obvious? Is that like you guys already knew that, or any questions about that? Is it eye-opening? I'm hoping it was. Okay, any questions? So you got to use both. The message in this is you got to use the search volumes, and you got to then take into reality results, right? The search volumes just mean a lot of people are searching them, but I'm finding that certain keywords are like research keywords, and other ones are more lend themselves towards purchasing. I would never. The question is, would you shut off others or just lower bids? I'd never shut off a keyword if it's producing revenue, okay? Unless it's like it's terrible, right? I mean, there in this particular case, you can see it was producing revenue and it was still pretty good, but I would lower it to say 45 cents, right? And I might even increase this to 65 cents, but I would just change it. And that's a test and guess too, right? You'd have to see what that did and if that swung the pendulum, because your click-through rate the percentage won't change. The number of times people click on your listing is based on those 4 pillars, but changing the bid is only going to make it appear more. It will be more impressions, which means if you make it more impressions, that 0.63% is going to be, you're going to have more clicks, because that 0.63% is going to carry on no matter what you bid, okay? So it's really important to know the levers in this. If you bid more on a keyword, you're going to get more impressions. And if you get more impressions, you're going to be getting them you're going to get clicks at a rate, in this case, of 0.63%. So would you rather have more impressions on a keyword that has a 0.63% click-through rate, or one that has a 0.39% click-through rate? Obviously, I'd have it on a 0.63%. So you would adjust your bid accordingly. So I'd increase my bid so I got more impressions, and I'd lower my bid on the other one so I get less impressions, so that I can use that money for the other ones.
Hey, it's Mike here, and we just launched version 7 of our Amazon training course, where we walk you through the process of how we sold, just in the last 30 days, our first 30 days, over 1,000 products with the brand new ranking strategies that we're now showing to the public. We've trained over 1,000 students, and last year alone we did over $3.2 million online. And if you go to my site, put your credit card away, enter just your first name and your email address, I'll immediately send you a series of free training videos that walk you through the process.
So that's that. So when people ask me what keywords convert, well, this is the answer. You have all the data. And if I see people that, like, say, lightning adapter, right? They'll spend their entire budget on a key. Maybe this is the top. Maybe this keyword has 60,000 searches. Lightning adapter. I'm just saying, and they want to get on first page for that lightning adapter. But then they get this results back. They should see, oh, wow, I'm only getting a 0.21%. Maybe I should look at some of these others. And maybe I can do 2 or 3 of these combined might equal this as far as the number of searches, but you're going to convert more. You're going to make more money in the long run, right? Ranking's good, but making more money. So there's 2 sides to the equation. I always tell people next to this page should be your ranking page. You should have them side by side. You should say, all right, here's where I'm ranking for all these keywords. Here's what my results are. Okay, let's make some business decisions based on that. Now you have the whole picture. You have what actually people are searching for, where you're ranking, and how they're converting. And that's all you need. And that's it. And that's the difference between succeeding and failing on Amazon. Period. End of story. All right. Any questions on that? All right. All right. So we talked about that. All right. Levers. We talked about all that. So cost per click is the next piece, right? So I'm not going to dig into cost per click because I told you already that I would say that the lever is your bid. Which will ultimately end up being what your cost per click is. You want to lower that on ones that aren't converting so that you can get more impressions. Basically, again, your bid is what you're buying impressions. Okay, so that's that. I think that was everything with regards to that technique. Hopefully, it's helpful. All right, let's see what we have for questions. A lot of them. Very good. All right, Brandon, I see you have a couple questions. I don't want to go ahead and shoot me a Voxer on those. I might be better to answer you because I'm maybe I'm tired. I'm not reading them quite, understanding quite what you're asking, but shoot me a Voxer and I can get you some answers. Does anyone have any other questions or anything that I'm missing? Anything that you guys would like me to talk about next time? Something that's some topics that you'd like to have me touch on. Obviously, we're going to touch on everything that's important, but there's stuff, just let me know. And if there's any questions or whatever you have, like Brandon, you have a bunch of questions, just shoot me a Voxer, shoot Mike Carrington a Voxer, one of us a Voxer. We'll get back to you and answer your questions. Other than that, I am done for the day. Hope this has been beneficial. As always, you guys all have a happy Thanksgiving, and we will see you all on Monday. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.
I've really felt like since I've joined, this is one of the best decisions I've made in my life.
From August 2nd to September 2nd, I generated 15,000 in sales.
I did about 6K one day.
We set a goal of 300 sales in the first 2 weeks, and we met that in 8 days.
Our first 12, 13 days, we've averaged just over $1,000 per day in revenue.
Right now I've got 74 5-star reviews, bestseller ranks at 29, and I've sold in 45 days almost 500 units.
We are moving about 15 to 20 units per day right now.
We were #1 new release on Amazon within 24 hours.
The last 12 months would have been in July. I reached I guess 6 figures.
I've seen the result and I've been very impressed.
Today actually is ironic that we're making this video because we hit our biggest numbers sales organically.
We still made 150% on our investment.
By far, the level of accountability you guys bring and support to your team it's uncanny.
What you guys are teaching us changed my life.
Just mind-blowing, and very helpful in helping us launch our products.
We were able to create an entire business from scratch with no knowledge before, really, of how to sell on Amazon.
It gave us basically a roadmap to get involved in e-commerce without having to reinvent a wheel.
If I didn't have this training to follow, I'm sure it would be very difficult for me to research everything and to come up with a process that would work.
The way Mike and Matt teach is really a foolproof method.
The quality and integrity of the program is amazing. The clarity of instruction and the detail of instruction is really easy to follow along.
I've been amazed with how robust and how much information they have in their program.
I get so much information from the training videos, and it's incredible.
Love the modules that I can listen to them again and again.
The steps that are laid out are very much succinct and something that you can follow.
It really is good to just consistently go over and over and over the same the basics in order to get your business up and running.
Everything that you've taught me so far has been useful. I've used a number of it both in this side business and also at my day job.
You guys have been helping me out with the Voxer talks, the live training videos that you guys have been sending me.
Learning that this even exists, learning the process and how to be successful has really been great.
I like how the information can be applied to other businesses, other online ventures that you might want to do.
We love this business for the business model.
I'm just so excited to be selling online and making money in a way that I never thought I would.
I'm just excited to get this started.
If you want free time and you know how this passive income system can work, I think you'll see the same thing.
Ultimately pour into the things that I love, and for me personally, that's my family.
I'm just grateful for you guys. I feel like you're super positive.
One of the things that you guys do is set the tone for giving everything you've got.
You go above and beyond.
They aim to over-deliver. They don't need to do as much as they do, but they do it anyway.
Mike and Matt are just regular people. Successful, but willing to share the knowledge and help us become successful too.